All right, my friends and YouTube subscribers, public rundown for you for the last day of April. Tomorrow is May 1st. By the time you watch this, it'll be May 1st. We film on Tuesdays, we film on Thursdays. I got a little bit of stuff to tell you today. And everything that's been happening, I finally kind of came across the right analogy to help people understand what's happening with the rising, falling water on Lake Fork. For example, Bodark has been rising, and the lake has been on fire fishing. It hasn't been rising then falling. So, anyways, in today's report, public report, I'm going to tell you that Lake Fork is still a grind. All right, I had a grind today. I saw good water temperatures. I saw shad spawn. That's supposed to be 70, not 78. 70 to 74 degree water temperatures. I saw good shad spawn around vegetation in the backs of the coves, pockets, creeks. Most of the shad spawn that's in the back pockets is little shad. And I mean 1 inch, thumbnail size and 1 inch. So you gotta have small baits. You won't get as much bites if you don't. The bigger shad are still in other places in the main lake, haven't come up to spawn in the main lake points, things like that. Water clarity. There's some water clarity that looks okay, and there's some that is a mess. And the reason is this. When I talked to you last Thursday, I think we were around 4 or 5 inches over pool. Friday, we were at 403.16, which is 1.5 inches over pool. We got bombed so hard on Friday and so fast with water that the lake came up over 9 inches and went to 403.95, which is almost 1 foot over pool. There were boat docks that were cresting water on the boat docks. I've got a 100-yard driveway that's beautiful with railroad ties and nice rock. It's almost ruined. The railroad ties were trying to float away. The water came so fast. We have literally had 26 inches of rain in the last 5 weeks, which our annual rainfall is somewhere around 27 to 35 inches of rain. It's been unbelievable. The word obtuse comes to mind. And then here's what happened. So this was Friday morning, 403.16. This was Saturday morning, 403.95. They opened all 5 gates. And by Sunday morning, we were already 403.60. Sunday afternoon, we got more rain. Thank God it mostly went southeast of us, but still enough to bring the lake back up from Sunday 403.60 to Monday 403.70 to today 403.54. I mean, we are talking about a freaking roller coaster of water, influx of water and gates open, outflow. Now the explanation. Why does that affect the bass fishing? It doesn't just affect the bass fishing. I have a report here from one of the hottest fishing guides on the lake for crappie. And this is really interesting that this was shared with me. You can see it. Jordan Sanders, Jackie Wiggins, also my most favorite, Jackie Wiggins. They're experiencing the same effects to the crappie fishing as we do with the bass because the fish want to move shallow. But here's the analogy, okay? This should make sense of what's happening. If you've ever fished anything tidal, whether it be the Florida Everglades, Galveston, anything in the ocean, a river system, a power plant lake that doesn't have a hot generator, but generates by dumping one lake into the next and one into the next and a pump back, and you have tidal effect, then you will know immediately that when's the best time to fish? Incoming tide, high tide. The California Delta, for example, is attached to the part of the Sacramento River. It's tidal effect every day. Any tournament angler that knows California Delta well will tell you that you need to know the tide, you need to catch your fish on the tide, and when that water starts dropping from the tide, if you haven't caught your fish, you're in trouble because the fish quit biting. I just watched Mike McFarland do an Instagram video about how his sonar his Lorentz sonar can show him the influx of tides when they're fishing like the Harris Chain, or they're fishing some of these lakes that actually dump into one another, and you have tidal effects in Florida. Some of the lakes there, some of the Everglades and things have tidal effects. Last year when I was in Florida visiting TIFR, fishing with Captain Rick Murphy, in the morning the tide was all bottomed out. We couldn't catch a tarpon, we couldn't catch a fish. Finally, that tide started coming back in, man. We caught tarpon, and we caught snook, and we caught groupers, and we killed it. It's the same principles. When the water's pulling out predators and those kinds of fish that are shallow-natured fish, feed shallow, want to be shallow, want to spawn, more importantly, they're not happy. They're not. It's the same effects. Pulling that water out on them does not make them happy, so they're hard to catch. Yesterday, the water was come up just a little bit, and I know some guys that caught 20 fish on Fork. The water was on the opposite from Sunday's rain. It was on the opposite. They had closed some gates, so there was a trickle flow, and the water kind of stabilized and had a reverse effect. Like I said, Friday it was low, Saturday it went up, Sunday it went down, Monday it kind of had a little bit of a rebound. Fishing was good. Today it was back on the drop, and we grinded and grinded and grinded. Caught one fish around the shad spawn on a little underspin, small bait, and then proceeded to grind. And I looked deep, I looked shallow, I looked at shell beds, I looked at structure, I looked for post spawn, I looked at secondary points. Man, I worked my butt off today, and I found fish, and I found fish with the live scope, and the fish would look at our baits but didn't want nothing to do with it. They weren't happy. So the best thing that did get going is I found some fish in some wood, in heavy stumps, not timber, but big stumps with roots, shallow. And they were in that stuff. And so you had to really get in there to catch some fish. But listen, I want to even just do this quick read here for Jordan Sanders, what he said in his fishing report. He titled it, "Are Crappie Affected by the Current?" That's the question of the day. He said his client stayed at the Burning Stump Lodge last night and joined him on the Goat Lake this morning, and he was nervous about the trip because the Lake Fork had received almost a foot of rain in just a few days, short days, and was on the drop. We started the morning off starting with battery issues, irrelevant. Rich Stringer helped him fix his batteries, blah, blah, got lithiums. He set out to his first honey hole where he's been catching fish, and he instantly knew there was an issue. The question is, does the falling water affect the crappie? He noticed a little bit of current wrapping around trees, and the very first fish that we dropped on wouldn't even acknowledge that they were there. He said immediately, the fish that he's been catching so well, so shallow, spawning and in the shallow waters, this is a huge issue. Since here lately, we've been getting great reactions out of every fish we drop on in this shallow staging flat. We're seeing fish everywhere and couldn't trigger a reaction at all. He said used minnows, jigs, even cut minnows. After 15 to 20 fish doing the same thing, running from his bait, ignoring the bait, he said these crappie, he came to the conclusion these crappie were physically tired from having to fight the current. I don't think they're tired, but they're frustrated, confused, they want to move in, they're not happy. He said he left that area where they almost 2 hours with one fish. He said he told his client this theory and then pushed out to the first deep hole where current wouldn't affect him as much. He hit the nail on the head because that one we pushed out to 15 feet of water, caught over 49 fish, the other 49 fish they needed to finish the limit in 3 hours. As a guide, some days are easy and some days are hard. I don't always do it, but making the right adjustments is the key to those days. Now, I wish there was some bass to adjust to. I took that theory a little bit today, and I looked all the way out to even 20 feet, 18, 20 feet of water. I think that ultimately the current, the pulling effect affects these bass tremendously on Fork. I spent 1 hour and 38 minutes with Jake Norman, the biologist, last week. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to him and Texas Parks and all they do. The new Lake Bodark is amazing. The fishing, the fisheries, everything they've ever done. And then for a guy who's got a busy agenda, he's the head of this division, to give me 1 hour and 38 minutes of his time on the phone. We just talked like we grew up together. When I was done, I saw it was 1 hour and 38 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I was so grateful. I was so man, wow, he didn't say, Mike, I got other things. Thanks. Nice talking to you. I got to go. He talked to me from front to end. We meshed. We both talked about so many things. And we talked about that tidal effect on the bass and fork. I talked to Lance Vick. I've talked to guys that have been here for 40 years, and they've said all the same thing. Concurrence, when the gates are open, there isn't a solution. You're going to grind. You're going to grind. So we've had enough water in Northeast Texas. We need to pray for no more water in Northeast Texas. In fact, the whole Midwest has had enough storms. Oklahoma had 161 tornadoes. If you're not aware of that, Oklahoma just had 161 tornadoes. Jimmy Houston's ranch got hit. Mother Nature can be brutally cruel. She can be absolutely beautiful. Lately, she's been pretty cruel. Anyways, that's the gist. Get you a Senko, Texas rig it, peg it, and fish as slow as you possibly can around some of the roots and trees. Think of like a fish tank, and those fish got messed up and they went into the stuff and they just hunker down and they're not happy. You can hit them on the nose, you can get something around them, you can get a few bites. I'd like to tell you that in the next couple of days it's going to change. We're 6 inches over full pool, a few more days of dumping water, and she'll be stable at full pool, and they'll close the gates and everything will be all better, like a Band-Aid healed. The problem is we got more rain coming. Thursday is another potential massive round of storms with an inch plus of rain, hail, and it just doesn't have its end yet. But it will. All right. All right. So with that being said, guys, like I said, I wish I could tell you more. I can tell you more. Go to another lake right now. That's all I'm going to tell you. I'm not trying to be negative. I love Lake Fork. Either be willing to grind and know that you're only going to catch, a handful of fish. Maybe, if you can catch a half a dozen fish, great. You still have a great shot at a big one. We caught a beautiful big 6-pounder, 5-pound 11 today. You still catch some good fish. But go to Bodark, go to Lake Welsh, go to Athens. Those lakes are fishing great. They're fishing normal. A lot of pressure on Bodark and a lot of boats, but everyone's catching fish. So that's what I got. I'm going to come back Thursday. I believe Thursday is going to be again the weather forecast is 90% vicious rain and some small hail and at least 1 inch of rain. I may fish through the day and I may cancel a trip. Any which way, I'll be doing another video, another public rundown, and I'll tell you guys a little more about where we're at. May should be a topwater month. Lake Fork should have a topwater month. Should be a lot of post-spawn fish. I'm going to tell you the fish we caught today were not post-spawn. The 511 was full of eggs. She hadn't spawned yet. They have been suppressed. Every time they move in, the water comes back. So enough of that. I appreciate you. I'm so grateful for the subscriptions. We're really still growing. The members only channel has been growing huge. We're almost over 400 members in the members only channel. If you're wondering what the members only channel is, it's more private. It's a privatized channel where I share more information, a lot more detailed information, specifically about fork, especially when the bite is really good. I tell the exact colors, the techniques, the locations, the depths, the best parts of the lake, the parts to stay out of, parts where you should be. And we include 5 other guides that produce reports for Lake Lavon, Possum Kingdom, Hubbard, Tawakoni, O.H. Ivy, Bodark, Athens, Welsh, Gilmer, and more. There's a lake I'm leaving out, Possum Kingdom, Palestine. So that members only channel could be very valuable to you if you fish in this area, if you fish in the Dallas area. A lot of information, and not just about bass. We do Tawakoni stripers and hybrids. We do a lot of crappie and catfish reports in amongst that. So I will invite you to come over to the members only channel. Look at the description below this video. In the description, you'll see a link for members only. Just click on that link. If you're struggling, you got to make sure that you are on the Lake Fork Guides homepage at YouTube. You'll see join buttons. Hit the join buttons. But again, I really appreciate you. Hit the like button if you found this good. Comment below if you have anything to share. I will tell you that, again, on Thursday, I'll try and feed you some more information about fork. And if it's real sour, then I tell you what, I promise you this Thursday, I will give you a little extra report of somewhere else, somewhere special, Bodark Lake. If I don't have something good to tell you on fork for the weekend, I'm going to tell you, I'll spill my guts about Bodark. And Bodark's on fire. Okay, Bodark is fishing really, really good. But look forward to that on Thursday, okay? Appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Big shout out to J. Hodge Chevrolet, Texas Insider Fishing Report, Skeeter Bass Boats, Diamond Sports Marine, Yamaha Engines, Abu Garcia, Berkeley, and Berkeley Baits, both hard and soft, Power Pole, Bass Assassin, Bajio Sunglasses, Tight Lines UV, Lake Fork Trophy Lures, Impact Lures, Sound Tone Lures, Real Time Rods Magic Reaction, Lake Fork Marina, Go Fish Lures, Steve's Custom Prop Shop, The Original Rod Socks, Sign Shop, Burning Stump Lodge, Lake Fork Resort, Murphy's Law Sport Fishing, Jamie's Restaurant in Lake Fork Marina, best restaurant on the lake, and oh my the pie, Cactus Creek Outdoors AZ, Tackle Co-op, Jamie's Jacked Up Designs, and always and forever, Lucas Oil, and Protect the Harvest. Thanks for watching.